Live from the Rant Radio Network,
You're listening to Real Estate Rant with your host, Alex Alanis.
and your co-host, Mr. Alonso Rodriguez.
No problems, just solutions for real estate needs, hot topics, and controversial chat. All right, welcome back to Real Estate Rant here at the towers of the Rant Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to the beautiful day at the Rant Radio Network Towers.
It is a little warm outside, actually.
Oh, yes, it is. It's a real nice day out there.
Yeah, what we consider to be the holy grounds of Whittier here. I'm your host, Mr. Alex Alanis, and to my left here, my broker, Mr. Alonso Rodriguez.
Joining us today is Brian Bergstorm. Is that
Bergstrom?
Right? Bergstrom.
Yeah, get that right, Mr. Alonso.
Bergstrom.
Welcome, Brian. How are you? Good morning this morning. Thank you. Mr. Manny, I'm not picking up. You got him. Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Bergstrom is from Farmers Insurance. You can reach Mr. Bergstrom at 714-868-6312. That's 714-868-6312. Give us a call on the show, 855-693-4897. And we can put up the design deal for the week. If you may, Mr. Manny Pantalones here in the studio. This is here in Michigan. The design for the week. You can call in. If you get the design for the week, you can win a $25 gift card for Stevens Steakhouse located in the City of Commerce. Compliments of Mr. Carlos Cruz in the Bell Gardens Chamber of Commerce. Or you can win a $200 gift card for teeth whitening. Do you need some teeth whitening, Alonso?
I probably do, Alex. I can probably use some.
From Garden Dental.
But like Coach Mike said, I'm not starting a Hollywood career, so I probably don't need it.
Well, you have a nice smile anyway. Take it easy. 7218 Garfield Avenue in the City of Bell Gardens. Again, compliments of Mr. Carlos Cruz. If you happen to call in and get the design deal of the week, you can win one of those gift cards. Also, if you call in and happen to have a viable question for Mr. Bergstrom here from Farmers Insurance, you can win one of those gift cards as well. What do you think about that?
That's pretty good.
Sounds good to me. So, typically on the show, we do get questions. You can email us at realestaterantradio@gmail.com. We don't get to the questions on the show, but if you happen to email us, we'll try to cover it on the next show. So what did we get for this week, Mr. Alonso?
This week's question comes from Brian out of Calabasas, and it reads, I've seen the no down payment plans late night television, and I want to know if they're real or just a scam. Talking about infomercials, basically what he's trying to say.
Oh, boy. Okay, the question is no down payment.
No down payment.
Okay, well, most lenders, and I know because I've worked for one in the back office, they want what's called the vested interest of the borrower. So when the borrower doesn't have any vested interest in the property, no down payment sometimes isn't a viable alternative.
Well,
to
let me
financing.
give you my intake of those late night infomercials.
Here we go.
Usually, I think they're really good actors, and they're making money off their seminars and their books and gathering people. But if they're really doing real estate, they're not making the money on real estate. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing those infomercials. And also, real estate is a lot of hard work. You got to put the time, dedication, and hours into it.
So you're saying that they're trying to sell a program? They're selling books.
Yes, they sell programs, and actually they're out there, looking for people to sign up, and they're selling you their program.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm usually working around that time, super busy all the time running the show, and also trying to run my real estate business. Have you gentlemen have you ever seen any of those infomercials?
I don't watch those kind of channels. The public channels that are usually doing that late at night.
You're watching the food channel. I take
Exactly.
it. That's one of my favorites. I'll be honest with you. Me and my wife, we love to cook, and I know Brian's I don't know, girlfriend, wife. I'm not sure what she is to you, but she's also a chef as well.
She is, yes.
Yeah. So I know that me personally, I love the Food Network stuff. But I'm kind of the same way. I rarely see any of this stuff on the air.
They are happening. I'm probably one of the guys that stay up late night and flipping channels, and since I can afford cable, I get to see them. Right?
You're looking for those easy ways to get rich.
Well,
huh?
actually, I have attended some of those seminars, and believe me, they're pretty convincing. The people there, they're really they really know what they're talking about, or they make you seem like they know what they're talking about. But the reality is, I've been doing real estate for years, and it takes a lot of hard work, hours, dedication. And, there's actually been some people that have been caught with fraud, because they're selling a product that doesn't really exist. So I just say beware, and if you want to get into real estate, you're going to have to put up the long hours and do the legwork. It's not a overnight get rich scheme.
Hey, Mr. Alonso, so you haven't tapped into any of these get rich programs?
Oh no, not at all.
You've never spent money into
no,
those?
no, I haven't. I was convinced by somebody I know to go to one of them, and I actually sat into the thing, and it was when it came to the bottom line, it was signing up for their classes, and it was like anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 on the class. So that's how they're making their money. And believe it or not, there was a lot of people out there signing up for those classes.
Right on. The question that came over, it says no down payment. Have you ever heard of that before? I've heard of 0.5% down.
Well, that's what they advertise, and basically it's pretty much trying to get someone to deed their house over to you is how they
Really?
Yes, and it's not done on a traditional real estate contract. It's like on a land contract where they're gonna just grant deed the house over you, and pretty much you're taking over payments on it, and then you're selling it out to somebody else that's gonna do a traditional financing on it.
That sounds like Scientology.
Well, that's basically what they're teaching on it.
Wow. So you have investigated these a little bit.
Oh yes, believe me, I've sat into those seminars for a couple hours, and I wanted to see
a couple of hours. You
Oh yeah, there's hours that you spend at those seminars. They're gonna try to convince you and sell you to buy their classes or their techniques, and the bottom line, they're not cheap.
Well, in 25 years of real estate, I can say that I've only known maybe 2 transactions that have ever happened where the buyer didn't have to come in with any money. And that was because they were able to get financing at 0.5%, and then they were able to get the seller to pay the 0.5%. Now, the lender actually doesn't allow that, so they had to creatively find a way to get them that money. And sometimes it's after the fact. So I don't know if it was necessarily legal. So no down payment. To the listener who asked the question online, I've never heard of it. Now, have we heard of it on infomercials and people trying to sell programs? Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, being in the real estate business for so long, I think I would have heard of it if it was a viable program and if it worked. I think I would have heard of it. Somebody would have come across it. Have you ever heard of that? No down payment, Brian?
Actually, I had a person who I worked with once who was on a different program where they were buying foreclosures, and the bank would actually pay them to take the property, because if they get too close to the amount of bank-owned properties, then it affects how much they have to have in cash reserves. So they were actually paying him $10,000 or $20,000 to take a loan on the house.
Yeah, and a lot of times in those situations, because we're talking about down payment, which includes financing, a lot of those deals are cash deals. So that's not necessarily no down payment, but there's an incentive there, I can see,
Right.
in that situation. So I can see that. That makes sense. But no down payment, most lenders, like I said, they need a vested interest. The buyer needs a vested interest in the property because it's very easy for them to just walk away, right? I mean, that's the whole idea of having a down payment and starting a loan with that process.
And that's one of the reasons why those 3% are actually pretty tough to get into, because they look at it as it's easier for you to walk away from a 3% than a 10% or a 20% down payment. Being them, the banks, that's they want to secure their investment.
All of these deals are collateral-based transactions. They need to know that the collateral itself have value, and that's how they back their investment. These are mortgage securities we're talking about,
Right.
and they need a vested interest. So, again, going back to the question, maybe you can call us and give us some more lowdown on it.
Or maybe those people who attended those, let us know what was your intake on it, or did you sign up and actually pay that amount of money and what you got out of it?
Now, the person who wrote the email, did it seem like they maybe went to a?
Yeah, it seemed like they went to one of those seminars, and that's what they were kind of skeptical about of buying the program, because, like I said, often they are very expensive to buy into.
I see. Well, give us a call, 855-693-4897, or you can email us at realestaterantradio@gmail.com. Again, 855-693-4897. We have the hotline up on the screen. Thank you, Mr. Manny. Again, joining us this morning is Mr. Brian Bergstrom. I don't know why every time I have a guest, I always fumble their name, and that I got to work on that a little bit. Maybe practice the name a little bit before the show. But Brian and I actually we go back a ways. Brian, you've been in the Breakfast Club now for what, about a year or something?
About a year, yeah.
Yeah. So Brian and I go way back. And now you come in representing your own agency. You
Yes.
have your own agency, and is it okay to say the F word here on the show?
You have a couple times.
Oh, have I said it already? Okay,
have.
well, I apologize. Well, Brian was with Farmers Insurance, right? So Brian's here representing. We'll be following up in subsequent segments on insurance. But let's throw up the design deal one last time. You can give us a call at 855-693-4897. If you can guess this particular style home, you can win a gift card, $25 gift card to Stevens Steakhouse, located in the City of Commerce, and a $200 teeth whitening treatment to Garden Dental, located at 7218 Garfield Avenue in the City of Bell Gardens.
Now
Both.
you just said and. Is it and or?
What do you mean?
For
What,
the
on what part?
gift certificates?
No. Oh, see now you're pushing me here, Manny. It's or, okay, or. So you can win either or gift certificate, $25 gift card to Stevens Steakhouse, or a teeth whitening to Gardens Dental, and they're located in the City of Bell Gardens. Compliments of Mr. Carlos Cruz. I just wanted to mention here on the Rant Radio, here on the Real Estate Rant, that there are various shows that we've covered over the weeks, and we try to cover different things, trying to ensure the public trust. That's the purpose of the show, and we try to bring on other individuals other than real estate people or agents, because I think agents get too much credit. They put their picture up with the Mercedes and the nice house, and it's really what's going on in the background. I feel that's important. So this is why I wanted to make that part of the show. And previous shows we've had carpet cleaners, we've had ASON. They were an advocacy group that went out to Washington. We've had Jasso Construction. We've had an appraiser on the show.
We're coming up on a break. Let's pay those bills.
Those segments.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with some more Real Estate Rant.
Ticketsurgeon.com. Reach us at 855-WIN-4-199.
Did you get caught speeding, texting while driving, or doing anything else you weren't supposed to do?
Give us a call. Don't miss work. Don't lose out on the money. Don't get any more points. What about your insurance? Let us fight for you. Ticketsurgeon.com at 855-WIN-4-199.
Are you watching the game at home? Why? Come watch it at Mambo Grill, the hottest spot in Downey. You'll have good food, drinks, and a great time at a low price. We have the coldest beer in our sports bar, where you can enjoy the game on any of our huge flat screen TVs. And when your home team wins, you get 25% off anything in Mambo Grill. We're on Downey Avenue, 1 block north of Firestone, or visit us on the web. Mambo Grill. Love at first bite.
What up, foodie freaks? It's Chef Bev Lazo with the Culinary Trend Show. Join me and my brigade every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m. where we will be cooking up some crazy stuff that will give you the appetite for discussion. It's all about the good food, good friends, and good times. Only here on RantRadioNetwork.com.
We are the Three Guys Rant with Arvin, Mike, and Phil. Coming to you on the Rant Radio Network every Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can call us at 855-69-THE-3-GUYS.
It's not the three guys. This is why you should turn in, because one has Tourette's. The other one's illiterate.
You really should listen in. You never know what's going to happen.
855-69-3-GUYS. G-U-Y-S and the number 3, not the.
Faces for radio, voices for the deaf.
Look forward to talking to you.
Hey, I'm audio candy. I don't know about you guys.
Live from the Rant Radio Network,
You're listening to Real Estate Rant with your host, Alex Alanis.
and your co-host, Mr. Alonso Rodriguez.
No problems, just solutions for real estate needs, hot topics, and controversial chat.
Hello and welcome back. Joining us today in the towers of the Rant Radio Network, we got Brian Bergstrom, and he's joining us, and he's here to tell us a little bit more about insurances. And we're gonna welcome Brian to our show, and let's see what you got to tell us and what we can learn about you.
Welcome, Brian. How are
Thank you
sir?
for having me.
You can reach Brian at 714-868-6312, or you can email him at bergstrom.agency@gmail.com. Brian also has a website at www.bergstrom.ws.
That's right.
Mr. Brian, give us a short synapse, if you will, of how you became into insurance.
Oh gosh, it goes back. It actually goes back to '92. When I got my first insurance license, and it was actually almost kind of like we were talking about in the first segment, with one of these almost get rich quick type of ideas.
So you went to like a little seminar or something?
I went to a seminar, and I
Did
got
you?
sold straight out of college to go in and become an insurance agent. Went and got my licenses and everything, and they said, "Congratulations, go sell."
What did you study in college?
I actually business administration
okay.
and business information systems. So
So
I was
it
a
was
computer
kind of a fit.
geek.
It's kind of a fit, right?
It was, but not sales. I didn't know anything about sales, and so their promises of go out, everybody needs insurance, just go do it kind of thing. And fresh out of college, most people, much my senior, weren't interested in a kid right out of college taking over their financial responsibilities, if you will. And so they said, go sell. And so I went out and tried to make a go at it, put almost 2 years into it. And I wasn't being nearly as successful as I needed to be, but I was young and lived at home, so it was pretty easy. And I decided that it wasn't exactly for me and that I needed to get my teeth cut on sales. So having my degree in computers, I went into technology sales, sold computers, copiers, things of that nature, electronics for a while. Then as I saw a lot of the people moving from there into automobile sales, I moved up from selling computers and appliances into selling cars. And I did a little bit of finance and insurance while doing that as well. A decade went by, and then the car industry took a tank 5 years ago or so, and I couldn't find...
The car industry took a tank.
It did.
That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
Well, yes. Well, when you look
I know what you mean. I'm kidding around.
That General Motors lost Saturn, Saab, Hummer, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, and Dodge lost Plymouth, and they consolidated dealers and laid off 120,000
and that's
people.
due to all the Hondas coming in from Japan and all those Nissans and all those imports. And I'm strongly an advocate against that. That's why I only buy American cars, and I try to support our economy because of those reasons.
I drive German.
Well, that's one of the things. That's why we have our economy all left up.
Not by choice. Talking about that, Brian, Alonso and I experienced something in real estate that you probably experience, and maybe you don't. I get a lot of individuals that want to come in and do real estate, and they don't know much about it, but they do know a little bit about being a salesperson, maybe door knocking and what have you. But now this kind of brings me to the question: what is insurance? And that might sound a bit dumb, but I'm trying to get the textbook answer in your idea.
Well, insurance is difficult to explain because there's different types of it. But insurance is designed to make you whole after a loss. So should your house burn down, the insurance company will rebuild your house.
God forbid.
God forbid. Should you have a car accident, God forbid, they will replace your car or repair it as is necessary. Now, in a car accident, it's not just the damage to the vehicles, but you could also end up injuring someone else, and it will pay for their injuries up to the policy limits.
And it's a necessity. It's absolutely required by all aspects of it. Whether you need a home, you have to have it insured. Whether you have a car, you're driving a car, you have to have it insured. So it's a necessity, actually. So it's one of the good selling points that I can see, getting into insurances.
Yeah, well, actually, Alonso's bringing up a good point. When you say it's a necessity, meaning, you said it's required. The lenders of the vehicles and the lenders of homes require the insurance.
That's right. And if you don't maintain the insurance, they will force place insurance on the homeowner or vehicle owner
At an increased expense.
at a very increased expense. It can be sometimes as much as 5 times what you could pay because they don't want to be your insurance company. They want you to go get insurance. So it can be very expensive to have forced place insurance.
Now, we've talked a little bit about a few different types of insurance, but I know there's a lot of different types. Can you kind of give us a short synapse on maybe different types of insurance?
Well, within the licensing arena, there's 2 categories. There's the property and casualty, which property is items, a house, a car, and casualty would be your liability, the injuries that you could do to someone else. On the other side, the other license would be life insurance, and that's life, health, those types of things. And life insurance, of course, is if you were to die unexpectedly or prematurely and have a policy, it will pay you.
So we'll have some money up in heaven.
Well, your family will.
They'll be secured. and actually, I was working at a county building where county employees don't have they don't have the luxury of paying into their Social Security or into their insurance, disability. So they actually have to buy their insurance. So I got the opportunity to meet up with a lot of insurance agents and actually sit in with their pitches of how they're selling their life insurance. And that's it's a whole detailed. I mean, there's so many companies. They all have their niche products, like a mortgage company does, and it's very interesting. It's interesting to know what kind of coverage you can get. Sometimes when you're short of, you don't have enough coverage. So it's kind of it's a difficult subject matter to explain, and I can see in your shoes of trying to explain all the different coverages there is, not only to say all the different licensing you need to get.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Well, licensing, that's a good issue. In terms of being now an agent for a large company, what kind of credentials do you need?
Well, whether I were with a large company or whether I were just a broker on my own, there's the 2 licenses that are required as a minimum from the state.
There's 2 licenses.
There's 2. There's the property and casualty license and the life and health license.
Oh, to sell those different types of
to sell those products. Yes.
Okay, I see.
Now, as working for a large company owning an agency, I need to have both because we sell the full line of products. Versus, I have a number of friends who work for life-only companies and don't sell any property and casualty. And then there's people who work for property and casualty. You have some of the auto brokers that you might see billboards for that all they sell is car insurance, so they don't need to worry about getting the life and health and disability license.
So, have you ever heard of salespeople going out and now selling these products that are not licensed?
There are people who sell without a license. They'll work for a broker or someone.
Kind of like a salesperson.
Kind of like a salesperson. They'll go out and they will actually transact insurance without a license. I came across at a networking meeting 6 months ago or so. There were a couple guys from a company, and I thought it was interesting that they all had the same license number on all their business cards.
That happens a lot, doesn't it?
Because you have to have your license on the business cards, just like in real estate.
Yes, yes.
So, and I'm looking at it, and there's like 3 different guys, and they all have the same license. And so when I got back to the office, I looked up the license and saw who the real
McCoy was, right?
McCoy was. And
well, I think a lot of people get tied up in pointing the finger, if you will. And I learned something the other day. I thought it was kind of funny, and you guys are probably going to laugh at me about this, but somebody said if you point the finger at somebody, you're pointing the other 3 at you.
yeah.
Right? So
that's why you point with the whole hand.
Yeah, you point with the whole hand. Really, okay. I've never seen that, but I've seen people point with 2 fingers. I wasn't sure if that was the reason why, but this is why whistleblowing in our industry is kind of frowned on, because there are a lot of individuals out there selling property, if you will, that are not licensed, and they work under their broker's license. And if you look through the files, they're complete and they're workable. But I was just curious about that, if that happened in insurance as well, if you ever had encountered something like that.
I have.
Actually, you're not allowed to write a policy unless you are insured. Is that correct, Brian?
That's correct. Now, most agencies will have unlicensed staff who manage paperwork and take a regular monthly payment when someone comes in with a check or something. But actually, signing the policy, binding authority is for the agent only. So if someone calls in and says, I need a quote, and they give my assistant their name and their address and everything, and they put it all in the computer, I then generate the proposal, call them up, give them the numbers, and then they agree, and I go out and get signatures, and that's my portion of it. But then maintaining it, someone calls up and says, oh, I need to change this or that, or making a payment. You can have an unlicensed person handle the day-to-days.
All the back office stuff is not required to have a license for that.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's kind of the same as real estate. You can have an assistant do certain things, but there's certain things that they can't do, and the state is very clear on those certain issues.
Exactly.
They're very clear on what you can and cannot do, dealing with the client and actually consulting with them about certain things. Give us a call, 855-693-4897. In studio today, we have Mr. Brian Bergstrom from Farmers Insurance. You can give him a call at 714-868-6312, or you can email him at bergstrom.agency@gmail.com. Again, I'll throw up the design deal. Coming up on a break, if you can give us a call, 855-693-4897. Figure out what this... there you go.
There's Manny Pantalones.
Yeah, figure out what this design is, and you can win a $25 gift card or a $200 teeth whitening to Garden Dental.
Don't touch that mouse. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with some more Real Estate Rant.
Ticketsurgeon.com. Reach us at 855-WIN-4-199.
Did you get caught speeding, texting while driving, or doing anything else you weren't supposed to do?
Give us a call. Don't miss work. Don't lose out on the money. Don't get any more points. What about your insurance? Let us fight for you. Ticketsurgeon.com at 855-WIN-4-199.
Looking for a delicious, fresh family meal that's ready when you are and easy on your budget? Welcome to Piara Pizza. We make our pizzas with handmade dough, 100% real cheese, and tomato sauce blended with our own spices. Nothing is ever frozen. We always have large pepperoni and cheese pizzas fresh and waiting for you for only $5. Or choose one of our specialty pizzas. We have veggie, meat lovers, supreme, and Hawaiian. Add an order of our amazing hot wings, cheesy bread, or breadsticks. Our locations are ultra modern, ultra clean, and open 7 days a week. Visit any one of our locations today, or check us out on the web at www.piarapizza.com. Piara Pizza. Fresh, hot, and ready for you when you come in. Stop in for your Piara Pizza today.
The experts know that for pastry, Baker's Bodega has it all. Exclusive brands like Westco Bank Mart, Satin Ice, and Pastry Pride. One-on-one day seminars for cake decorating and gelatin art. So for our service, wide range of ingredients and supplies, and for the low prices, Baker's Bodega has it all. But you don't need to be an expert. Baker's Bodega, 7869 Paramount Boulevard in Pico Rivera. Come, we're waiting for you.
We are the Three Guys Rant with Arvin, Mike, and Phil. Coming to you on the Rant Radio Network every Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can call us at 855-69-THE-3-GUYS.
It's not the three guys. This is why you should turn in, because one has Tourette's. The other one's illiterate.
You really should listen in. You never know what's going to happen.
855-69-3-GUYS. G-U-Y-S and the number 3, not the.
Faces for radio, voices for the deaf.
Look forward to talking to you.
Hey, I'm audio candy. I don't know about you guys.
Welcome to the Monster Marketing Group, your one-stop shop for all your marketing needs Anything you need to make that marketing and advertising campaign stand out, we're your people. Concepts, design, production, social media, anything that you can dream up, we're going to make happen for you. And we can do it in a very quick turnaround. Please give us a call at 888-49-MONSTER.
Live from the Rant Radio Network,
You're listening to Real Estate Rant with your host, Alex Alanis.
And your co-host, Mr. Alonso Rodriguez.
No problems, just solutions for real estate needs, hot topics, and controversial chat. And we are back here at the Real Estate Rant Radio. I'm your host, Mr. Alex Alanis, and to my left here, Mr. Alonso Rodriguez, my broker.
And that's me.
Give us a call, 855-693-4897. That's 855-693-4897. Give us a call. And ask Mr. Brian Bergstrom an insurance question. Get a chance to win a $25 gift card to Stevens Steakhouse or a $200 teeth whitening to Garden Dental. Both compliments of Carlos Cruz and the Bell Gardens Chamber of Commerce. You can also email us at realestaterantradio@gmail.com. Back to insurance, Mr. Brian.
Okay.
We were kind of talking at the break there a little bit about the different types of insurance, but it kind of brings a question. How do insurance agents rate what a consumer needs? How do you look at? Well, I mean, obviously there's the different products, but how do you look at how much they need, and is it income based, or how do you guys look at that?
Well, it's not so much income based, but like with a home, there's the certain fixed amount, which is the reconstruction cost of the home.
So is that size? Is that?
Well, it's not just based on, you have X number of square feet at this amount per square foot equals this, but we actually look at the overall, we have software like contractors would have, and we can put in the kind of flooring, the kind of walls, the kind of roof, the details of...
So when an insurance company is going to pay out a policy, they're going to look at depending on your coverage is what you're going to get. Like say if say like my home, it has a Spanish tile, I went with high ceilings. It's actually based on square footage building. It's actually
gold
more,
toilets.
It's actually more square footage as a regular one. Like I know what you're talking about, Brian. These calculations when contractors estimate construction site, they go based on how much it costs to build. And actually, there's more. Like if your building is more upscale, then of course you're going to want to get paid more. When it comes to insurance, is that also what you need to look out for?
Exactly. When I go into a home where people have extensively remodeled, have the Corian or granite countertops, and they have the commercial stoves and such, they're going to want to, if there was a fire and they lost everything, they're going to want that heavy-duty commercial stove and the big refrigerator that was built in back when they have their home rebuilt. So they're going to have a higher reconstruction or replacement cost of that home.
So that's how you would rate. You actually would go out there and you would know, okay, you know what, you need to have more coverage on it.
Right.
Than giving them just the basic coverage on it.
Exactly.
And you would offer, it's not necessary for them to take, but that's one of the things that you should be aware of as a consumer.
It is. If you can be underinsured. I have visited people who are over $100,000 underinsured on the reconstruction cost of their home.
How would that happen? How would that happen?
Well, it could be that they have a bad agent or something. Well, it probably all would be a bad agent or bad company in that if when they bought the home, let's say in the 70s or 80s, because these are often seniors, they never have had a review of their home. And reconstruction costs go up every year. So if you've gone 20, 30 years without having the reconstruction cost of your home looked at, and the company increases it by 1 or 2% a year, but they've now put in a new roof, a new kitchen, they've added a sunroom on the back, things like that. Those won't ever be calculated in. And then if they had a loss, they may only get $150,000 to rebuild their home, but with all the work they've put into it, it might take $300,000 to build it. So
and that also could be based on the consumer just trying to save a buck. I can see that happening, you know. I can see that happening. You know,
they're trying to be frugal. You know?
If my policy, if I, you know, I'm used to paying, you know, certain amount, a low amount, and all of a sudden I'm not gonna want to call my agent and say, you know what, I need to reassess it so you can increase my policy. You know,
what about that, Brian? Do you get people that are kind of stingy and they say, "Well, I don't want to pay so much because I know my house isn't going to burn down. So can I get it? Can I get a cheaper rate and get underinsured for that reason and satisfy the lender condition of having insurance?"
I have had some people on that mission or that goal, and there is a little bit of flexibility there. If someone says that they're, you know, and I don't know what they've put in. You know, I can see going to a countertop place, and I can see $100 countertop and a $5,000 countertop, and I don't know the difference. I'm not a granite person. So if they tell me that they have, their kitchen is not a custom kitchen, but it's an economy kitchen, and so they only need X amount of insurance, then, you know, there is a little bit of room to be flexible there. But if there's a loss, they're going to be rebuilt with an economy basic kitchen.
They're gonna go from granite tops to Formica tops. Huh?
Something like that, yes.
The Formicas. Okay, well, what about the other side of it? Can you be overinsured?
You can, and I've actually had a few customers who were, let's say, forced into being overinsured because when they're buying the home, the mortgage company wants them insured to cover the loan value of the house, not the actual reconstruction value. Now, the reconstruction only looks at the cost of the dwelling itself and the separate structures like a detached garage, where the loan amount includes the land and other things that would not be reflective in it. So I've had people, and in order to get them their loan, because my job is to get them a policy, but also if I'm working with you, Alex, you want to get that house sold, and they need the loan. So,
well, this kind of brings a question. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, where you mentioned that the insurance covers the improvement, but most of the value of a property and most of the collateral is actually in the land.
yes, it is.
How do you insure land?
Well, you don't insure land.
Well,
the land will be there if it burns
The
down.
land can burn.
But if it's encumbered by the loan, and the lender's requiring you to insure that encumbrance, if you will, ultimately you're insuring the land as well.
Yes, and to get the home to close, to get the loan to close, once they've made I've done it where I've insured the land, the full value of it, and then after they've made their first payment and the loan is solid, then we reduce it back down to reconstruction cost, so that's all they're paying. Because in California, it's actually illegal for the mortgage company to require it at loan value instead of reconstruction value.
Instead of the dwelling.
And actually, Brian, I had that scenario happen to me that I guess once we closed the transaction, my client, he called me up and he was happy and he goes, you know, they reduced my payment by almost $200 because I was paying too much on insurance. So I got a new insurance and my payment got reduced. So he was happy, and I could see now why it was maybe happening.
Hey, but you mentioned, Brian, that it's illegal to overinsure property for that reason?
Yes, it is.
Do you know what law that is, or is that a guideline, or?
I can get that for you during the break.
Okay, I just figured I'd ask you because I know we hadn't talked about it yesterday, but I did want to cover that.
And actually, that's a good point. That you make a good point because
me off, though.
No, that's a good point because that's what we try to do. We're trying to let the consumer know how they can avoid falling into these, paying more than they should.
Yeah.
And kind of.
It angers me.
It's gonna. That's what we try to do. Ensure the public trust.
Ensure the
right?
public trust. It angers me a bit because why would a lender want to? Okay, let's use a scenario here for a second. A house burns down. Mm-hmm. It's overinsured. Mm-hmm. The insurer, would that what you call the client? Would you call the insurer?
The insured.
The insured. They're not getting the full benefit of the insurance.
No, the insurer, the company, is not going to. let's say we did this and you had a $200,000 dwelling on a $500,000 piece of
Okay,
land.
500,000. Okay.
So
the insurance is for the
you're
500,000.
insuring it for 500, but if the home burns down, the dwelling burns down,
Only
the
takes-
insurance company is going to build a $200,000 home again.
Exactly.
They're
But
not
yet
going
you're
to give
paying.
you half a
So
million.
But yet you're paying the $500,000
They're
policy.
overpaying. The insured person is overpaying on the policy. And okay, but you're saying that this is illegal in Southern California, like in other words,
In
if a le-
California.
Okay, in California, the state.
I'm just thinking, Alex, how can that be disclosed when you're doing the transaction? I mean, how can you tell the lender, you know what, I'm not going to insure a $500,000 dwelling of the purchase price. I'm just going to insure what it costs to rebuild.
Well, this is news to me. I did not know this as a real estate agent. This is good information because you're telling me that if because we get quotes, you know, hey, I have a listing or I have working with a buyer, I have to get a quote from an insurance agent to send it into escrow, and that is required by the lender. It's part of the funding conditions,
Right.
and they give them that estimate. I never looked at it closely enough to say that I was looking at whether or not the loan was covered or just the dwelling. But what you're telling me is I should be looking at whether or not it's the whole loan, because if it is, they're potentially they're trying to pull a fast one, the insurance company.
They are almost, but when
or the lender.
Right, the lender. When I've done quotes for you, Alex, and I give the actual reconstruction cost as the policy. That's what I provide you. I provide escrow, and then I've had it kick back that the escrow contacts me and says the lender requires this other amount, say $468,000 instead of the $227,000. So, or they won't close. So in order to close, we just write it at that amount, and then a month later or so, we just rewrite the policy at the correct amount. And if they were to say anything, I just tell the lender, California insurance code says
you're
this.
telling them, hey, you guys can't do this.
Yeah,
But
you're
after
protecting
it's
your
closed.
You're protecting your client.
Yes.
You're protecting your client.
That's a good point there.
That is great. I just learned something.
So did I. I'm kind of like in the
learned
maze.
something.
I'm like,
What do you know about that?
And I'm thinking, well, how can they know what the dwelling is worth? But actually, the appraiser will tell you what the dwelling is worth and what the land is worth.
There's a breakdown. There's they break it apart, but the insurance companies do their own thing. Give us a call, 855-693-4897. Joining us in studio is Mr. Brian Brookstrom. You can call us and ask Mr. Brian a question. We're coming up on a break, and we will be back to you in just a second. What do you say, Mr. Alonso?
Let's pay those bills.
That's what I'm talking
We're
about.
from our sponsors.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with some more Real Estate Rant.
Oh, man. TheTicketSurgeon.com. Reach us at 855-WIN-4-199.
Did you get caught speeding, texting while driving, or doing anything else you weren't supposed to do?
Give us a call. Don't miss work. Don't lose out on the money. Don't get any more points. What about your insurance? Let us fight for you. TheTicketSurgeon.com at 855-WIN-4-199.
Welcome to the Monster Marketing Group, your one-stop shop for all your marketing needs. Anything you need to make that marketing and advertising campaign stand out, we're your people. Concepts, design, production, social media, anything that you can dream up, we're going to make happen for you. And we can do it in a very quick turnaround. Please give us a call at 888-49-MONSTER.
What up, foodie freaks? It's Chef Bev Lazo with the Culinary Trend Show. Join me and my brigade every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m. where we will be cooking up some crazy stuff that will give you the appetite for discussion. It's all about the good food, good friends, and good times. Only here on RantRadioNetwork.com.
We are the Three Guys Rant with Arvin, Mike, and Phil. Coming to you on the Rant Radio Network every Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can call us at 855-69 The Three Guys.
It's not the three guys. This is why you should turn in, because one has Tourette's. The other one's illiterate.
You really should listen, then you never know what's going to happen.
855-69-3-GUYS, G-U-Y-S, and the number 3, not the.
Faces for radio, voices for the deaf.
Look forward to talking to you.
Hey, I'm audio candy. I don't know about you guys.
Are you watching the game at home? Why? Come watch it at Mambo Grill, the hottest spot in Downey. You'll have good food, drinks, and a great time at a low price. We have the coldest beer in our sports bar, where you can enjoy the game on any of our huge flat screen TVs. And when your home team wins, you get 25% off anything in Mambo Grill. We're on Downey Avenue, 1 block north of Firestone, or visit us on the web. Mambo Grill, love at first bite.
Live from the Rant Radio Network.
You're listening to Real Estate Rant with your host, Alex Alanis.
And your co-host, Mr. Alonso Rodriguez.
No problems, just solutions for real estate needs, hot topics, and controversial chat.
I'll get that for you after this.
Okay, thank you, sir. Welcome back to Real Estate Rant Radio here on the Rant Radio Network.
At the towers of the Rant Radio
The
Network.
holy ground, what we always do. Joining us in the studio today, Mr. Brian Bergstrom. You can reach him at 714-868-6312, or you can email him at bergstrom.agency@gmail.com. Mr. Brian also has a website, www.bergstrom.ws. So I believe, do we correct the information up on the screen? No, it's still like that. Anyway, Brian is with Farmers Insurance. He's answering some questions that we might have about insurance and real estate. Give us a call, 855-693-4897. If we can, throw up the design deal for the week again. If you can guess this design. Can we throw up the other one, Arvin? There was a couple other ones that we put up there. There we go. This one's Duck Island in St. James Park, London. You can win a gift card, $25 gift card to Stevens Steakhouse located in the City of Commerce, compliments of Carlos Cruz and Bell Gardens Chamber of Commerce. Or you can win a $200 teeth whitening from Garden Dental at 7218 Garfield Avenue in the City of Bell Gardens. All compliments of Mr. Carlos Cruz at the Chamber of Commerce. Back to the show. Mr. Brian, we were talking about insurance today, and before the break, we talked about whether or not it was illegal for a lender to require overinsurance to encumber the lien. But we talked about the difference between the dwelling and the land, where most of the value is in the land.
Correct.
So I learned something there.
So did I, Alex.
Yeah.
I was very surprised and in awe. Like, wow, I didn't know that. That's why we have people that, in the profession that come to the show to tell us and let us know. That's what we try to kind of bring on this show, is bring other source of information, not only the real estate agents' information.
Well, early on, I talked about having a stupid question, and when you talk about insurance, you say, well, everybody knows what insurance is, but hey, there's stuff out there that and this is the reason why we talk about ensuring the public trust. We bring in the folks, the professionals, to talk about this stuff, because if we're in a different field, we don't know everything that's going on in that field. And Brian here was able to shed some light on some insurance issues that we knew nothing about. And this is why we need the professionals and the licensing that's required in those industries. We need that stuff as consumers. This is why we go to them to help protect us as consumers, right? I had a story, Brian, that I kind of wanted to just kind of touch on a little bit, but I don't know if we have enough time. So I want to kind of cover the story that you talked about. I think it's kind of related to what we were just talking about. You mentioned something about a house that was built in 1928 in a severe fire area.
Right. I had a quote that someone had requested, actually a lender had requested, because they're trying to trying to sell a home that was in or is in Topanga Canyon, and that's a very big fire area. It's like the Malibu. They're one of the seasons in California. There's fire, there's flood, now we had trouble actually writing a policy on this through primary carriers because the fire class of the home is high. Depending on where a home is, the brush conditions, the distance to the nearest fire station or the nearest fire hydrant, a number of conditions can affect whether insurance can be written or not. And there's a fire line code. Now, my home in the city here is a 0. I don't live up in the hills of Whittier. I live in a tract home, and there's 0 fire risk for brush fire, things of that. There's a fire station a mile and a half away, fire hydrant on the corner, probably 100 feet from my house. So there's no risk. But as you get out to these areas, there's some areas out in Corona or Riverside which are much higher risks because they're further away from civilization and may not have quick response times like we have here in the city.
And the insurance companies have a rating system.
See, and that's another good point that he brought up. So it's gonna cost me more to get a policy, an insurance policy, if I have a house in the Azusa Canyons where there's no really fire hydrants, and it's it's in the woods. You
better have your buckets ready, huh?
Yeah. So that's that's a lot. That's a good information actually that I'm not aware of. And I'm kind of glad you brought in Brian because. We're getting educated,
I know I am, but you talked about a rating system.
Right.
I'm interested in that. So, see, this is something that's going on in the background now that I never even heard of. The rating system, this now puts, I'm seeing dollar signs as the rating system goes up.
There are dollar signs, absolutely.
I'm seeing dollar signs. As the rating system goes up, the price goes up. Is that how it works?
And it's a very good point, Alex, because now we can explain to our clients why their policy is more, if they're buying a house up in the hills, and they're not close to a fire hydrant, or they're out in Pomona or in Riverside, or out there where there's not really a close by a fire station, then those are good points that we could bring across to our clients and let them know why their policy so high.
Exactly. Beyond just where they live, there's also the fire department which services them. Like LA County Fire is a Class 1 fire department. They're the top of the scale as far as the standards of equipment, training, everything goes. Where let's go the other way, and I can't say what their score is because I don't know, but let's pick La Habra Heights, who has a volunteer fire department. They have one truck, one station, not one truck, and it's a volunteer fire department there. Now they're serviced by with reciprocal agreements, but they're going to have a lesser score than a Class 1 fully trained fire department.
So then that affects the policy of those homeowners in that area?
That would, yes.
Wow.
Especially since they're up in the hills as well.
Did you know this stuff?
I didn't. I'm going to say I did it.
I'll tell you, we're making for a good show today.
Very
this
not
is all good information.
You're not so intelligent broker here, Alex.
Well, I'm not the broker. But anyway, so this is all good stuff. So now you talked about the fire hydrants having to be a certain distance from a home, and in a completely dense area. That's not something you worry about necessarily. But now I know that there's other types of areas. We talked about fire areas, earthquake, military, industrial. These are all stuff that we talk about now on the NHD.
Flood zones as well.
Flood zones is a big one. I know that lenders sometimes require flood insurance if you fall within a 500-year floodplain or something like that. Mm-hmm. But what about earthquake? Because that's not usually required by lenders.
Earthquake is not required by lenders, and that's actually earthquake and flood insurance are done by only one organization. In California, earthquake is done by the California Earthquake Authority. So Farmers, State Farm, any company put you into the California Earthquake Authority, and that's tied to your homeowner's policy. You can't just buy earthquake insurance. You have to buy...
Would you insure this house here, Brian?
Not in that condition, no.
Brian, and going
it's
back
got
to
a few good pieces.
Going back to the earthquake insurance, do you see more people now buying policies in earthquake insurance? Because I remember in the Whittier earthquake back in I believe in the
late 80s.
The late 80s, there was a lot of chimneys that came down, and they didn't have earthquake insurance, and I don't think they were getting insured. So had a lot of people complaining that their insurance policy didn't cover their chimneys because they didn't have earthquake insurance. Mm.
Well, there's very few people with traditional homes that get earthquake insurance. Traditional homes as opposed to manufactured homes, which the insurance is a lot less on a manufactured home for earthquake than it is based on the construction style than a traditional home. But earthquake insurance has a 10 or 15% deductible. So if you're looking at a $200,000 house, Well, that's definitely more than that.
You know, I think the camera's flipped on that because if you turn the camera the other way, I have a feeling that's built on a hill.
Was that the Northbridge?
That's built on a hill. Come on.
That looks like it is. That looks like that house is
look
fine.
at the trees. The trees are pointed the other direction. So that one's okay. That one will insure, right?
We would insure that.
Will you second doubt that, Brian? If you look at that and from 1.9, I would say there's foundation problems in that building.
Well, I'm sure that we would have to have the inspectors look at that as well.
The Leaning Tower. All right. Well, give us a call, 855-693-4897. Give Brian a question about insurance. Let's see. Let's see. On the outline here, I've got story of a policyholder of underinsurance. What was that about?
That one, we were talking about people who
want to save on their policy?
Want to save on their policy. And a worst case scenario is they're not a policyholder of mine, but they're a policyholder of someone's, and they are more than $100,000 underinsured. And when I went to visit them, I could get them the proper amount of coverage for an additional $10 a year. And they would not budge.
So they wanted to save that $10.
And what was the reason behind that? Them not just because they wanted to save?
They did not want to pay more for their insurance than they'd been paying all along.
And the increased amount was only going to be $10 a year?
$10 a year.
Who in the
right
year,
mind? Not $10 a month.
$10 a year.
Who in the right
$10 a year
wouldn't do that?
You're kidding me.
No.
Okay, this is out of control now. Let me see your pimp hand, Alonso.
And I still follow up
I ain't got
with
your
him.
money. I ain't got your money.
I still follow up with him from time to time to try and motivate him to correct this because
and I could see why it happening. It's just the consumer that's not educated and they're very procrastinate on changing. You know, they don't like change. Just as human nature, we don't like change. And like they said, if it's not broken, why fix it? That's probably their mentality.
Well, then $10 could buy a couple of Subway sandwiches, I think, you know.
Well, on my own house, we were talking about doing upgrades and such. And on my own house, when I redid the kitchen and the bathrooms, I upgraded my value of what the home costs. I did a reconstruction cost. So,
well, Mr. Bryant, thanks for joining us here on the Real Estate Rant and the Rant Radio Network.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listeners for giving us a call this week. And we'll see you next week on Wednesday, 10 o'clock.
See you next week.
Same time, same place.
Same time, same channel.
Thanks for tuning in to Real Estate Rant Radio. Make sure to join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on the Rant Radio Network, where we talk about solutions to your real estate problems. The views and opinions expressed by the host or any guest on this show are encouraged to be followed up by a professional tax advisor or attorney, as we are not qualified or authorized to give advice in two areas: legal matters and tax matters.